I'm one of the council members of Loving Waters, and we have a special new moon in Aries, which is a lot about action. And it's also, blessedly, today the end of Mercury retrograde. I don't know about you, but it was kind of a tough one for everyone I know. A lot of mixed messages and misconnections. But we're so grateful to be here. And for all of you that are joining us, whether you're joining us right now on the call or you'll be listening later. And I just want to share that Loving Waters is a growing global and local alliance of water lovers, advocates, ambassadors, and guardians. And we are here to unite everyone together in remembrance of our primary sacred relationship with water, water as life, the source of all life. And we are here to provide connection, support, and focus for all the committed water lovers and protectors and advocates in all of their projects. And also, we're an educational community. We're trying to reach out to educate people about the precious being that water is and how we can better take care of it. Our special area is subtle or sacred activism, which is using our energy the energy of our intentions, our prayers, and our heartfelt love to sustain water. And so I was just reflecting before the call. It was many, many years ago that I was personally called to the water with an amazing direct communication with the water up in the backcountry above Santa Barbara, where I am. That's my watershed, the Santa Barbara Coastal Watershed. And I had a very direct communication with the water through my heart. And I was called to loyalty and to protect the water and to support it. And at the time, I didn't really know what that meant. It was in 1987. But for the last 7 years, I have been waking up to the role of being a water ceremonialist and educator. And Loving Waters is in a beautiful tribe of water lovers that I've been so grateful to be a part of. We, every month on the new moon, we have this call that's open to all water advocates and ambassadors. Every full moon in each of our individual communities, we do water ceremony and sometimes make special trips to certain areas to offer water ceremonies. I'd just like to invite you, as we have the call, if you would like to have your water. I have my water in my sacred crystal vessel here with a rose quartz crystal in it. It's my small size water blessing bowl. And I also have a glass of water. If you don't have a bowl or something, if you just want a glass of water, there might be a time during our call and blessing the water that you might want to bless the water, take a drink of it, be in gratitude for the water. So we have a very special guest with us tonight who I will announce in a minute, but I would like to turn the call over to Charlie, another one of our beautiful council members, and ask him if there's anything else you want to add to what I spoke about our mission. And otherwise, I would invite you to bring us all together tonight and with a heart resonance. So I turn it over to you, Charlie.
Thank you, Maya. No, what you said was really a complete statement, and other than just the love that we all have for each other and the water, which is really why this group really began, from each of our hearts. And so with that said, I would just like to have everybody just take a deep breath and feel the water on your tongue. And remember that water began millions of years ago, and that each one of us are partaking in that water. It has been many forms and many life forms as we have traveled through our evolutionary paths. And tonight we gather here in our hearts, which is pumping that water and flowing through our bodies, much as it does through our divine Mother Earth, and is asking us to just resonate peacefully, knowing that all of life depends and is a gift from water as a source. And interestingly, I came across a poem, and I just popped it on my screen, and I'd like to read it to you. It's just very short, but it's called God is in the Rain. God is in the rain. Clouds form, they turn dark with storm. Drops fall from the sky, cold and warm. And more as they trickle, more as they touch the treetops. Drip by drip, they trickle down to the ground, into the rivers, flowing into the oceans as one. Drops of rain cover lakes, slowly filling with time. From the mountains, the water makes its way down, soaking the hills to create life within the flowers and grass. Let the rain fall. God is in the rain, in the drops that are upon you. God is in the rain as it comes down. God soaks this world with life. And that was written by a gentleman named Keith Garrett. And it reminds us that God self within us is in the water, and there is no separation. So just breathe into that. And I'm going to strike a bowl. And allow that beautiful sound to vibrate through the waters of your body as we gather here tonight to listen to Carol, whom I had the pleasure with walking with last year. Bless you, Carol, and bless you all. Aho.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. And thank you for reminding us that the primary water that we can take care of right here is in our bodies, in our brains, in our whole being, and that we don't even have to travel out to start to take care of the water. And I truly believe that when we take care of this water, that radiates out to the other waters. So, yes, I'm very excited about our special guest today. I've been wanting to meet her myself for a long time, and I know she has a lot of beautiful wisdom to share with us. And her name is Grandmother Carol Bubar-Blodgett or Blodgett. How do you say it, Carol? Well,
it's Blodgett.
Blodgett. Okay,
Blodgett.
Carol.
Blodgett is the way years ago it had an E, but with assimilation that disappeared.
Okay, Carol Bubar-Blodgett.
So,
and
traditionally it would have had an E on the end, and so it would have been Blodgett years ago, but now it's it's pronounced Blodgett now, according to the assimilated rules of who you are now. So. But it's Blodgett.
Okay, I will pronounce it however you would like it. And I'm so grateful that you're here today. Carol has been many years blessing the waters and helping to protect the waters in many places. And currently she is preparing for the 8th annual Water is Life Walk along the Housatonic River. And that's going to be from May 15th to June 13th. And she's going to be speaking more, I'm sure, about that with us. And it's very special because Carol extends an invitation to all people, all faiths, to gather like the drops of water and join us in this prayer and this blessing for sacred water of all life. So I'm just going to turn it over to you because I still have lots to learn about all the beautiful work you've been doing, Carol. And so for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to hand you our crystal talking stick and invite you to share whatever you would like to about your work with the water.
Hamatakweape. Hello, my relatives. I'm going to start with this eagle feather and a prayer. This is a very old prayer that was shared with me by an elder a long time ago, and he told me when the time is right, you need to reword this because it was written in a time when men and women were together as a unit, and they worked together in harmony, and that had been lost. And so in 2016, I presented the prayer to some very good friends of mine, Brenda and Lester Greenwood from New Hampshire, because they're such a beautiful, beautiful couple. And I asked them if they would take this prayer and not really change the wording, but change the essence of how it was done so that it would bring about more unity between men and women. And it is a prayer for unity and love and respect and gratitude. And so I'd like to start with that. And I'm going to use this newer version. And so when we do this in a group, I would stand in a circle. So I'm going to assume that we are circled up here. And so today, as we gather in this sacred circle with clarity and intent to honor our duty to live in balance and harmony with one another and all living things, we thank our previous 7 generations for the opportunity to call on the next 7 generations, letting you know that we bring our hearts and our minds together as one human family. We turn our hearts and our minds to our relatives, the winged ones. They greet us every morning with their beautiful songs, and flying over our heads, they remind us to take the time to enjoy and appreciate life. The eagle has offered himself to carry the prayers for the people. We turn our hearts and our minds to our relatives, the animal nations, all those who walk, crawl, burrow, the creatures of the water, the whales, the dolphins, the fish and turtles, the seen and the unseen. You have come to bring beauty to it and to teach us many things. The greatest of these things is unconditional love. We turn our hearts and our minds to the source of all life. We acknowledge the known and the unknown, and we honor those instructed to cleanse and purify our waters. We turn our hearts and our minds to our ancestors and all our relations. We gather in this sacred circle as one heart, one mind, to accept our responsibility of stewardship to all the 4-legged, the crawlers, the winged ones, the swimmers, the standing ones, the stone people, the plant people, and all of Mother Earth. Now our hearts and minds are one as we send our love and gratitude and respect for all of those sent to share our walk on this earth, Mother. With our hearts and minds as one, we call to the Creator and ask a blessing on all our relations and on the sacred water that brings forth all life on this planet. Those that came before us and those that are yet to come. So I thank you for listening to that prayer. I wanted to start with that prayer because I wanted to start with that teaching of unity. I started my journey with the water in, well, when I was born and it birthed me, I followed it out of that womb. But I really have started my journey with the water in 2011. I was called to the water. I'd been called to the waters years before that. And I've always lived near water, always. There's never been a time when I wasn't more than 15 or 20 minutes away from a river or a lake or a stream, some kind of water source. And most of the time, within sight. And so in 1990, I made my first buckskin regalia. And I say but my hands did the work. My grandmother instructed me in Dreamtime how to make this dress. And so after I got it all sewn together, I did beadwork for it and sewed it on one shoulder. And during Dreamtime, grandmother came and told me, take that off and put shells. You need shells. Just put shells. And I thought, well, I live in Florida. I love the ocean. That's a good idea. So I put shells. Every year I put more and more shells. And it wasn't until 2011, after I did my first water slide walk, and I came down and I danced in that regalia, and I heard those shells rattling like a jingle dress, that I realized that my ancestors knew a long time ago where I was going. And so we're always guided and we're always directed. And so I ask you to always consider that when you think that you can't figure out why you're doing this or why you're doing that or why you accepted this job over that job because you really were drawn to go to the other job, just go with it, because they guide us and direct us all the time. And if we if we just step back a little bit, then we'll be able to see, where they're taking us. And so in 2011, after sundancing for since 1999, I sundanced, and then in 2011, I turned 60, and I needed to make another 4-year commitment to Sundance, or I needed to decide how to fulfill the commitments of a bundle that I carry for the 7 generations and for the Children Nation. And so in 2011, on the hill, when I was being put on the hill, a little white earwig appeared on the buffalo robe right before me as I was filling the sacred pipe, the Chinooka. And my hands froze as I stood there, sat there, kneeled there on that blanket, on that buffalo robe, looking at this little white earwig in 110-degree weather in full sun. The buffalo robe was hot to the touch, and here was an earwig that lives in moisture. If it were its normal color, I wouldn't have seen it, but it was white. And our prophecies about the sacred whites coming forward and bringing messages just struck me. And so when the pipe filling song was finished and I hadn't started filling the pipe, Mark John Colson, the hereditary chief of the Chehalis Nation and the Sundance intercessor who was putting me on the hill, told my brother David to go and put his pipe on the altar and get ready for sweat, and then we'd go up. And he told me, I'm going to sing that song again, and that little one is here for you, and that's who you talk to when you fill this pipe, and that's who you talk to on the hill. So I came down and I walked my first Waters Life walk from Teeswalk to Busjutwood, 127 miles. Well, that's Google miles, but and so Teeswalk is Mount Rainier. Busjutwood is a place they now call Capitol Lake in Olympia, Washington, where they dammed up the mouth of the Deschutes River 50 years ago to create a reflecting pool for the Capitol. And now we have a dying estuary. And so that first walk was from Teeswalk to Busjutwood. And that water has taught me so much. And I tell people all the time, I can't walk 15 miles a day, any given day, and not really suffer if I can do the 15 miles. But when I'm carrying that water, I walk 15 miles and it feels like nothing because I'm not carrying the water's carrying me. And you just talked about that, Charlie talked about blessing that water within us. So when you're making these prayers and you're carrying this water, you're not just praying for the water that's in the vessel that you're carrying. You're not just praying for the water that's flowing down the stream. You are the water. And we forget that we are the water. And so as you pray for the water, and I completely believe with all my heart that we can create world peace just by praying for our water. If we fill ourselves, every glass of water that we drink, if we fill that glass of water with love, respect, and gratitude before we drink that water, and we drink it, every time we drink water, every time we make our food, you pray with that water before you make your food, before you make your coffee. Pretty soon you're 75% love, respect, and gratitude. Rest is easy. You know, now you're only got 25% to battle with. If enough of us are doing that, when that water flows through us, well, guess where it's going? That water is going back into the air as it's evaporated, or if you breathe it out of your mouth, if it's evaporated from your skin, or it goes down the toilet, it's coming out with the love, respect, and gratitude that will go back into the earth and touch every other drop of earth and every other drop of water in that earth. And that's the principle of carrying this water and praying for this water, and then putting those headwaters that you gathered from its cleanest, purest source back into the river. And Charlie got a chance to walk with us as we walked the Merrimack, and I really appreciate that, Charlie. And so as you put that water back in, every time you meet a spot that's just above a dam or just above contamination or just a spot that says over here, and you place in that cleanest, purest water. Water is an incredible element. It can heal itself just as it heals you. It will look at that mirror image of what it's supposed to look like and correct itself. And love and respect and gratitude are these most beautiful crystals are formed, as Dr. Emoto's research showed, and proved what our ancestors have always said, to be careful what you say, because the water responds to what you say. And so what we say about ourselves to ourselves is very important. We should never catch ourselves talking ill of ourselves. Yes, we all have faults. Yes, we all make mistakes. But sometimes our biggest gifts are the mistakes that we make, because we learn our biggest lessons. But water, one of the biggest lessons it's trying to teach us right now is about unity. If you have two vessels of water right there with you. So if you pour some water from your glass into your bowl, what happens? Can you tell what water was in the glass and what water was in the bowl? No, because instantly it becomes one water. Instantly, if there's food coloring in one of those, as soon as those drops come together, everybody gets an equal share. So every drop is now the same color. And so color makes no difference in the human family any more than it does in a drop of water. You know, we all come in different sizes, shapes, and colors, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And so we need to erase the lines that we've drawn between ourselves and come together as one human family. And I see that happening more and more and more with groups like this, where we are erasing those lines. We are coming together as one. But to heal the water, we have to heal ourselves. And to heal ourselves, we have to heal the water, because we are the water. So it's a really interesting thing to see as I began sun dancing years ago, praying for the children nation with no thought of myself. The first thing that happened was I healed my inner self, my inner child, as I prayed for the children nation. My inner child was healed. I didn't see that until 4 years down the road, 4 years after I started dancing. Now, as I work with the water and I pray for the water, I see that the water heals me far more than I heal it. And it's not because I'm asking for healing. It's just because that's the way water is. Water gives. It is the most generous, loving, compassionate element that I've ever come in contact with. And water will give to us all day long and never stop giving. It gives to those that don't respect it. It gives to those that don't take care of it as much as it gives to those that love it. It doesn't. It just is truly unconditional love at its finest. It makes no judgments. It just gives and gives and gives. And yet it's also extremely humble, because it never, ever says, hey, look at me. Hey, look at me. But I don't know about anybody else, but I can't walk by a waterfall without looking. And I can't walk by a little stream without hearing it talk. I can't. The sound of water, especially water and stone, or the waves coming in, is just the most healing sound. And you don't have to put your feet in the water for the water to heal you. The sound of the water can heal you. Just looking at the water, being near the water has an aura bigger than anything that I've run across. And I've run across some pretty amazing auras of human beings and animals. But for me, its biggest lesson for us right now is to love one another and to become one human family. If this world is going to continue, we have to do that. We can't continue to fight among ourselves. And I'm so appreciative for everyone in this group, whether I know you or I don't know you, whether I've ever heard of you or never heard of you. We have so much negative impacting this land, all over the mother. So much negative being said and done. That we need to send more and more love and respect and gratitude every single day, every moment of every day. And the more people that we get on board, the more people that begin, even if it's only when you get up with that first glass of water in the morning and you say, thank you, I love you, respect you. Thank you for healing me. Thank you for giving me another day, and drink that water. Because like I said, it's going to go through you and it's going to radiate from you. Once you've done that every day for a while, and now you're 100%, you're 75% love, respect, and gratitude, from the water. And now that begins to change how you react and how you radiate that love, respect, and gratitude from your very being. It's just beautiful to see that happen. And it's just amazing to see. For those of you who have been out there working with water, you won't be surprised to hear this, but I see plants and animals responding all the time in ways that you can't imagine. My first year walking, I'm walking, still coming down off a mountain right here. I think it was day 7, and I'm still on the mountain. I'm coming down off the mountain, and I see what I thought was a wounded mouse running across the road in front of me, because the rangers made me walk on the road so they knew where I was, because I was walking alone. And so I scurried up to catch up to see if I could help this little mouse, and I got about a foot from him, and I just froze. And it's like, Mole, what are you doing above ground? And why are you on the pavement in the middle of the day? And he stopped and he turned and he put his little front feet up and he just looked at me with his eyeless face and just made this incredible contact, and then ran across the road and scurried and burrowed back down in the ground. And it was as if he was saying to me, I hear you. I hear you. Thank you. because he's in that water, and your feet, as you're walking these waters, your feet are making contact, and that love, respect, and gratitude isn't only coming from the songs that you're singing and the energy that you're sending out from your heart, but from the vibration that you create as you walk. And so the droplets of water in the soil are picking that up, and they're passing it to the roots of the plants, and they're passing it on down the river. I stopped along the way, and I was just making a little prayer along this little stream, and here's these four little cedar trees, two like adult cedar trees. I envisioned mom and dad and these two little children, and they reminded me of the Frosina family, Brian Frosina and his wife and children, and the children had taught me a song called Cedar Tree. Cedar Tree, won't you come and sing with me? Cedar Tree, won't you come and dance with me? Cedar Tree, won't you come and pray with me? Won't you come and play with me? So I started to sing this song, and I won't torture you with my song in the key of Carol, which usually isn't the key anybody else is singing in. But I started singing to these little cedar trees to honor this family, and suddenly the tallest one began to sway just very gently. The branches began to move, and I thought, oh, and then the other adult tree began to move, and then the two little ones began to move, and I looked around, and nothing else was moving. Nothing else was moving. Not a blade of grass was moving, but the branches on these trees were swaying, and those kind of things that dragonflies. Oh my gosh, dragonflies. They come and they let you know. You know, when the bald eagle flew 3 inches above my head last year, just took off out of a branch. I heard the crack over my head as I'm standing on the shoreline of the river, and I thought a branch was breaking off from the tree, and so I ducked like this and look up, and here's this bald eagle just like 3 feet over my head. And what I'd heard was that branch making a noise as he took off. Those kind of things let me know, and I'm sure it happens with all of you, that you're doing something right, and that it's appreciated, because nothing out there lives without water. If you have crystals and you use them in ceremony, I don't know about you, but some people say you've got to clean them, but boy, I'll tell you, when they come out of ceremony, they got a lot of energy. And so I appreciate all that you guys are doing wherever you're doing it, because it's so needed right now. And so I'd like to open up for questions, if that's okay.
That would be great. Yes. So we'd like to open for questions. And then we also always invite everyone to share their name, their watershed, and, you know, their love for water, and then maybe ask a question. So we'd like to hear from everyone that way. So we can unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Shanti Hart-Hollinger. I'm in Chicago, and Lake Michigan is my watershed. And I'm curious to hear, Carol, have you talk a bit more about the 7 journeys that you've taken and leading up to this 8th one? And I'd like to know more about that process, and just, I want to hear you talk some more, please. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else?
No.
Okay. So I'll tell you that I am from the Quinnebog River watershed, which was the shortest walk that I've ever walked. Shortest river, 72 miles. 18 dams in 72 miles. How can that possibly be healthy? This river flows through what we call the last green valley. And it's beautiful in sections. It's really beautiful because people have left it natural. And people will say, oh, it's a very healthy river. I get fish out of there all the time. It's like, where do you get the fish from? Oh, up there by Thompson Lake Dam. And it's like, yeah. And it's stocked every year because it can't support the life of fish. No, that's not true. I get them every year. And I say, yes, they stock them every year. And I said, go down and put where you put the canoes in and look at the sign that says, no swimming, no wading allowed. Water quality does not support this kind of activity. So if you can't put your feet in it and wade in it, I don't think I want to eat the fish coming out. But so 2012 was the journey of a lifetime. I came cross country because I was moving back east. And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for my walk. And I had 4 different rivers that I was taking into prayer. And my brother, Raven Redbone, said to me, oh, you're going to go cross country? And I said, yeah. And he goes, going to pass all those sacred sites as you go? And I said, of course I'm not. And he goes, oh, I wonder how many have water. And he just walked away. So that night I'm dreaming of all these different places I'm going to stop. And I'm seeing the Bellpush River at the base of Devil's Tower. And I'm seeing this little spring that starts Sylvan Lake up by Harney Peak. And I'm seeing all these different water sources on these sacred sites. And so I thought, okay, I just need to choose 28. After all, there's 28 days in a moon cycle. So let's choose 28. So I chose 28 carefully. And 7 of those 28 spirit changed as I journeyed. And I didn't understand why they were being changed, but all 7 of those rivers, if they weren't already having problems or water sources, have since come under attack from fracking, from mining, from the EPA accidentally opening an old mine and spilling all kinds of beautiful chemicals into the river that turned the river orange all the way to New Mexico from Wyoming, I believe it was. And so I'm full of gratitude and of all for the ancestors that walk with me. The first time on that journey that I got lost, I'm never lost. I may not be where I thought I'm supposed to be, but I'm never lost. And I was heading to Oregon, and I was going to do Craters of the Lake National Monument, and I was going to do a lake in Oregon that was not too far from there because they were having a lot of trouble with their salmon. And I'm on the highway driving south, and I'm going to get off my exit, and I know the exit number, and I'm just driving, and I'm singing, and all of a sudden where am I? I'm in the middle of absolutely nowhere, in the middle of a forest on a dirt road, and I have no idea how I got there. I tell people all the time, I think the aliens just zapped me over there. They beamed me up Scotty and moved me over, but because I have no memory at all of getting off the highway, of getting where I was. And so I pulled over and I dropped back and I said, okay, I don't know where you're taking me, but I trust you, and you got to help me figure out where I'm at and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I drove about, I don't know, not even a quarter of a mile, I don't think, before I came to a bend in the road. And there's a big wooden sign that says Headwaters of the Wood River, which was the main tributary to that lake that I was going to go pray for. And our headwaters are where these rivers are birthed, and they're like the birthing ground of rivers. And so I knew that the problem with the lake was in the river, not in the lake. And so I started with Tiswaktabasjetwit, mountain to ocean, and I ended with Mount Katahdin. I can share on Facebook or somewhere for anyone who's interested. I can share on the Water is Life Walks page on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, I'll share the 2012 photo journal essay that I did of that walk. If anybody's interested in that, let me know after. I can put that up on Facebook for you. And then I got to the, I finished through walking from Mount Katahdin in Maine to Old Town, Maine, Indian Island on the Penobscot Reservation. So mountain to ocean for East Coast and West Coast. On the East Coast, one of the things I did before I came was attend the canoe journey, in which they had 100 sea canoes coming in from Alaska to South America, all the way up the coast and down the coast. These sea canoes came in, and Grandmother Josephine Mandamin, who is my inspiration, she's walked over 170,000 miles for our waters.
Wow.
And she had all these canoes coming in, bringing water from their homelands, and had them add them all to the bay at the same time as she did a water blessing. And then she allowed me to gather water from the bay as soon as the water blessing was over, so that I could take all those waters with me cross country. So we gathered waters from all of these 28 sites, plus all these 100 sea canoes, and the bay, and we Salish Sea, and we took all of those waters together. And in Old Town, Maine, we did a mirroring of the water ceremony, and we blessed our waters coast to coast. And like I said, that was a journey of a lifetime right there. Then when we got here, what happens is at the end of one journey, I carry a river in prayer for a whole year, for the waters that I work with for a year. And so I'll be dropping the Merrimack River just as I pick up this one. And so, but every new moon, we always start on a new moon and end on a new moon. So we set that intent to heal those waters. And then every new moon, I do ceremony, and we pray for those waters in that river, and all waters, but particularly for that river, those waters will sit on the altar in the new moon ceremony. And then at the new moon ceremony for this year's river, we'll do ceremony for both rivers, and then we will release those waters back into the land. And
Grandmother Carol, can you tell people how they might be able to participate, the several different ways that they might be able to support this next Walk for Water?
Oh, yes. If you live anywhere, we're going to be walking the Housatonic, which begins in northwestern Massachusetts. There are 3 headwaters in northwestern Massachusetts. So we'll gather all 3 of those branches and then come down. There is a Green River that starts over in New York. So once we get to that place where the Green River joins the river, we will drive up to New York and gather those headwaters and walk them down, and then do a confluence blessing. And then continue to walk downriver until we meet the 10-mile river, which comes out of New York. By that time, we're in Connecticut already. So then we'll walk the 10-mile down into Connecticut by the Shattuck Reservation lands, and then continue all the way to the Sound. And so there's a lot of, you can go to our website, waterislifewalk.org is this year's website. There's a donate button there, but there's a how can I help page. And so you can help by, if you're in that area, become a community organizer. We have a youth leadership page this year, trying to get our youth to step up and adopt a day. So if you know any youth in the area, or if you can share it on Facebook with anybody with anybody out there, I tell them we're really looking for the youth to step up. It's the time of the seventh generation prophecy, the fulfillment of that prophecy, and we need to give them opportunity to step up and take a leadership role in taking care of this land and the waters. So share it with youth groups, share it with any water groups that you know, invite people to come. And so it's about 220 miles, that's Google miles. That doesn't tell us the number of miles to go from where the map is on where the Google map is, and how far you have to hike in to get to the headwaters and those kinds of things, or how far you have to hike to get to a place where you can get your feet in the water to do the work that needs to get done. But there is lots of different ways, and gas cards. We're trying to follow vehicles so that our elders can ride if they're not up to walking, but they want to drive with us. We need housing as we come downriver. Normally, if it's just me, and I'm going to say 80% of these walks I've been the only human walker most of the walk. That's alive anyway. But it's still on this side of in this Living World camp. But a lot of help from that other side camp. And so gas cards for the vehicle, because I have to, especially if I'm by myself. I'm 68, so I need to keep food and water fairly close, because I can't hike all the sacred items and food and water. And so sacred comes first. And but I need to have that close enough that if I need my inhaler and need a snack, that it's close. So the follow gas cards for follow vehicles, if you want to send cards for like grocery stores where we can just pick up stuff. If you live in that area, or you have connections with churches, if you belong to a church, maybe contact the churches in the areas. On the website, there is a list of all the towns we're going through. And so if you know anybody who's in that area, or if you belong to a particular church and you think maybe your church might be interested, you can send out an email to the branches of that church in those towns. Those things are helpful. We need housing.
So Grandmother Carol, we can happily post your website and some of that information on our Loving Waters site, so that people can find you, and let's see, write down right now. So thank you so much. It's really exciting to hear about all these years of adventures to walking with the waters, walking with the rivers from source down to the end. And I wonder if there's anyone else who would love to hear from anybody else that's on the call, to give your name and your watershed and what your particular focus with water, your love for water is. So I open up if anyone wants to unmute themselves and share, or another question for Carol as well.
Hi, Carol.
Shelley?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
How beautiful. I think we're all very touched by your dedication and commitment. And part of this call is really opening up so we can hear as well everyone else's dedication and how we can interweave. As an example, as I'm listening, the depth of this sacred commitment that we have to the waters within ourselves, and supporting people I'm here in Sarasota, and actually this past 3 months, it's been much more focused on the sacred waters of my mother and really supporting her, and seeing that her waters, get stronger. And so I have done less locally here than I would normally do. But what I'm inspired, and I think other people, what we're doing is, yes, there are going to be those, I just missed you, 2 years in a row, I've kind of missed you in Maine. And I know Charlie made it, and that was fantastic. So for me, this depth of sacred relationship to the water, and this sense of peacefulness that comes from standing at a watershed, from getting to know your watershed, is really what we're inspiring here with Loving Waters. And even tonight, a little thing sparked, where I went, oh, wait, so you start, and I learned kind of something new. So you start on the new moon, and when you shift the watershed, the water that you're walking, or the river that you're walking. And I think what inspired me tonight was, oh, wait, as a Loving Waters, we go from new moon to new moon, and how incredible it would be that each month, to pick a river, and to have everyone understand and learn more about that river, and carry, like I loved how you said that, carry that river in our hearts, speak to those waters. And we can speak, like you said, we can go down to our own watersheds, our own water, and still be speaking to that particular energy of river, because it is all one water, and we are connected. And so that's why on this call we feel like it's really important to allow each and every one to speak, and to allow their waters to flow, and for them to get those ahas, and to understand the depth of this connection, and yes, how we absolutely can support you, hopefully more this year with what you're doing. And but just opening it up, I'm going to pass my waters and the crystalline talking stick to someone else. And we really do want to hear from everyone tonight, just what's moving in you. And if you're inspired from Carol, just as well as, questions. And maybe at the end of this call, Carol, you can share personally how people can tap into you, if they do all of a sudden have a question, or need help, or inspired to walk at their waters in their rivershed. That's funny, their rivers in their watershed. And yeah, so thank you so much. And I pass the crystalline talking stick.
If nobody's going to jump in, I'll just be real quick. Carol, it's just a joy to be with you again. The day I spent with you, I wish there could have been 10,000 days. It was just a joy to walk with you, and to see how you express that day after day on your journey was truly an inspiration for me. And I know we have Kathleen on our call, who was with us, and you and Kathleen spent most of the time talking, and I was speaking with your granddaughter. But it was a joy to be and do the crystal blessing, and come to realize that as I was guided to do the tetrahedron pattern in the water, you also had a beautiful, much larger tetrahedron crystal grid that we placed in the earth at the river. And I want to thank you for that experience, because it really is, it deepened me much more than you can ever imagine. And so with that, I just want to say thank you. And for all of you who have an opportunity, really, to even just embrace Carol's work in some way, please do. That's all I can say. Thank you. And with that, I'm Cleve, and my watershed is the York River in Maine, and y'all can find me wherever I am. I pop up all over the place. I'm like rain in your face. There you go. Thank you.
I'll pick up the talking stick. This is Deanna Rhodes here in the San Diego watershed. Been close to the water most of my life. Spent nearly every weekend of my childhood on the lake, on a houseboat, and family ancestral farm that's on a river, and lived near here in San Diego since 1980. So real close to the beach and the river, about quarter mile from the San Diego River. One part of it comes near my area here in La Mesa. And I've been drawn to water through my whole career. I've wanted to work with the water, technically as environmental restoration, mostly working in the office, managing the teams of scientists and geologists and engineers, and helping clean up some of our naval bases here on the West Coast and a few other states. So anyway, the river spirit called to me about 3 years ago. It was 2016, I believe, or 50, it may have been 50, late 15. And I had a vision about canoes in the water and beautifully dressed Indigenous people. So I thought, well, that's interesting. I haven't had a vision for many years, and I had been doing a lot of meditations. So I thought, well, I must be making progress. And about 2 weeks later, I got an email from the Shift Network that they were going to do an Indigenous wisdom class. And I had the pleasure of meeting Carol during that class. And I had the honor of being in sacred ceremony with Carol for 4 days at the Gathering of Eagles in 2016. And we had a special ceremony there to unite the waters of the world. And that was beautiful. The first grandmothers were heard. All the grandmothers there at that gathering were spoke their wisdom, and it was just a beautiful time. And so I honor everything you're doing, Carol, Grandmother Carol. It's so wonderful to hear the wisdom from you, and it really touches my heart. And you know, I'm so happy to be in group with you guys. And so I just want to remind everybody, tonight is the Aries new moon, and in 2 weeks we're going to have the Scorpio full moon. So it's a great time right now to dream in your world for the next month on the new moon, and then release whatever doesn't serve on the full moon. And it's kind of fun to make a theme out of it. I've been doing that all this year, and I've really enjoyed it. So bless you all, and bless your waters, and thank you all for your service. I'll put back the talking stick.
Nice to see you again.
Okay, well, I'll ask a question since no one's jumping in. Jelania, feel free to jump in and cut me off if you want. So, you know, we've heard you mentioned the confluence blessing, and then Charlie mentioned the crystal blessing, and then talking about the tetrahedron patterns. I would think it would be really incredible, because a lot of times on this call, the second half is dedicated to sharing practices, you know, so that people can learn. And, you know, yes, there's a certain number of people on this call, but there'll be more listening. So Carol, it'd be really incredible if you could pick one of those and kind of give us a little insight for those of us that are organizing community blessings and are stepping into doing more public blessings. Maybe there's something you could share with us about one of those types of blessings that we could be infusing into our water blessings. That's what's coming to me in a moment.
The confluence blessings, there's only one river that I've ever done, which was the Penobscot River, that had both an east-west and a north-south confluence. A confluence is a joining of any two rivers or branches of rivers. And so when you have an east-west branch confluence, it's not a river coming from the east and a river coming from the west, although that's similar. But when you have a confluence of the two branches of the same river, one coming in from the east and one coming in from the west, that's a powerful confluence blessing in that you can then call in the powers from both of those directions, the clarity and illumination from the east, the ability to go within and see the problems from the west, that inspiration and intuition that comes from the west. You can call in those powers from the east and west. But you can also, because in the indigenous way, the east and west is what we call the good red road, or the red road of physical life. And so you can then call in all of the people who are walking that red road that are physically on the earth right now, to call in and call them in and ask them to help to send their healing energies and powers to that river at that place. And north and south blessings, it's the same idea, only you're calling in from the north and the south the things that come from north and south. From the south, you have that growth and rebirth. From the north, you have the cleansing that comes from the cold and cleansing winds. And so you have those two energies coming into that river at that place. You can also then call in, we have the red road of physical life, and we have the blue road that goes north to south, which is the spirit road. So now you can call in all the ancestors to come and join you and bring their blessings. They're already there. Trust me. When you're walking a river, they're already on that river. This is their water, and they're still there, holding stewardship and taking care of those waters. And so you can call in on that at that place and that time. Confluence blessings are important, whether it's the confluence of a smaller river that's feeding into the larger river, because just like the glass of water that you pour into one into another, when that river comes down, it's bringing all its blessings with it. And so, but it's also now, sadly, bringing all the pollution that is in that river down into this river, which is why there was such an outcry at Standing Rock. Is like, wait a minute, you're going to go under the Missouri River here. It's going to go flow down and run into the Mississippi River, and then you're going to go under the Mississippi River further down the Mississippi. So what's the water going to be like when it gets downriver? And so if you look at the Missouri River watershed from where we were at Standing Rock, that's the whole central north part of the United States. Then you add the Missouri River watershed, and that brings it down all the whole central part of the United States. And so we have to look at, we really need to know our watersheds, because water flows underground, and we don't see that. But there's two lakes in upstate New York. They're 25 miles apart. One empties into the Great Lakes. The other one empties into an aquifer in Florida. So if you live in Florida and you don't know what feeds your watershed, you're not worried about their fracking in New York, right? But it might affect you. So it's really important that we really know our watersheds and what feeds it and where it comes from. And so I'm glad you asked that. As far as the crystal grid, the tetrahedron grid, I'm going to be rebuilding that on Earth Day at New Harmony Sanctuary in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And And that's an Earth Day event that's going on in Newburyport, Massachusetts. And we will be rebuilding that medicine wheel there on their land. They housed us the last part of last year's walk because we ended in Newburyport. And so we got to camp on their it was then a farm, and it's still a farm, but it's a sanctuary. Because of the way they run it, they don't just plant whatever they want, wherever they want. They listen to the earth and what wants to get planted and where. And so we're going to be rebuilding that in Newburyport, Massachusetts. Charlie, that's not too far from you if you want to come and join us if you're not already busy.
Who's they? Like if we wanted to contact someone for that, who are you? You keep saying they.
Okay. Well,
Or
there's
how do we find out about that Earth Day event?
Okay, it's posted on my my Facebook. I believe it's also on their website, and it's New Harmony Sanctuary. And I believe I have that name right. It's posted on my Facebook page.
Okay.
If you can grab it off my Facebook page, I just shared that I think today. So I invite you all to come for that. It's a medicine wheel for the water that I dreamt. And on the ground, when you draw it on the ground, it looks like 3 concentric circles. I don't know if there's a way for me to share a photo here.
Actually, you have to have the photo. I'm sorry, I'll just jump in to help her.
No, sure.
I can probably post one if I can find it. I have one, I think, of the one you did in Lawrence.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find one and I'll share it. So continue talking.
That would be great. And so in my dream, I dreamt this for a year before I began to work with it and use it, because after dreaming it and drawing it and looking at it and trying to understand it, I went to elders to get more insight after I'd been praying and asking for inspiration or information from the spirit realm as to what this all represented. On the land, it looks like 3 circles with 3 triangles. In the vision that I saw in my dream time, it's 3 globes. And so just like when you're in a sweat lodge and you have this dome shape above you, that the other part of that globe continues down under you. So that when you sit in the sweat lodge, you're literally sitting in the center of the universe, because you have the mother underneath you and you have the heavens above you. And so it's 3 globes and 3 tetrahedrons. And so when I see these first I see these 3 globes, and then I see the 2 tetrahedrons tip to tip, so that the one base is at the top and one base is at the bottom, and then they slide down until their bases are level, and then they turn, and then the 3rd tetrahedron comes down, and it points downward into the earth as well. It slides down and then it turns. So you now have a 9-pointed star touching that outer circle as it's drawn on the earth. Reality is you have 2 tips of those tetrahedrons pointing down into the earth, 1 tip drawing energies from the universe above, and bringing those energies down into the earth. And so, thank you, Charlie. Mm-hmm. And so we plant the crystals at the tips of the tetrahedrons as they join that outer circle. The 3 circles, or the 3 globes, represent, first are the smaller circle is your physical body. And then my understanding was that the second one was your spirit body. And then the third one is your heart body. And I thought, this can't be right. Wait a minute, my spirit can go, oh man, I can really reach out there with my spirit. I can do anything with my spirit. And then, but they were insistent that the heart body was bigger than the spirit body.
Wow.
And so I I sat with my elders, and he said to me, okay, so now I'm in South Dakota, and I call you and I ask you to send me that I'm having trouble and to pray for me. And he said, so what energy are you using when you send me that healing energy? And I said, my spirit. And he goes, really? Really? Think about it. And he's laughing. And he said, because if you don't love me, you're not going to bother. And he said, you know, when you see your grandchildren from across the room and they come flying at you, you're already hugging them before they get to you. And they're already hugging you as soon as you see each other. And he said, so why do you think that the spirit body is smaller? It's tied to the heart, to the physical body. When you're in the physical realm, it can only go so far because it's tied to the physical body. So your heart body is bigger. And so the more we open our hearts, the more we work with our hearts, the easier it is. Now, what's been made very clear to me as I've been working with the water is what's really wrong with our water is we have broken the human to water connection. We've forgotten to see it as our source. We see it as a resource. And as long as people continue to see it as a resource, then they don't get to that space where their heart body says, no, wait, this is more important. And so for us to build this wheel helps us to reconnect that human to water connection. And the tetrahedrons are very important because we have a 2-strand DNA, and our DNA is made up of tetrahedrons. What's happening to us right now is we're awakening and we're changing, is we're awakening that 3rd DNA strand, which is our consciousness and our heart energy, or our consciousness that our heart energy has strength and power beyond what we think. And so I would really love to sit and do this with all of you, but there's just so much to go into. But it really, the energy that I feel changing in these spaces when I do this. And I got a chance to go back to that wheel after the area where we did that wheel, and the energy was so different, Charlie, when we came back. So different. And so, you know, I would love to really go in depth on that sometime. Any questions?
I'm wondering if Shalania or Kathleen would like to jump in. I see you. I think you're still on the call.
I am still on the call. I don't know if you guys can see me now. Sorry.
Hi,
I know.
how are you?
So before I forget, because I'm notorious for this, Carol, it is a pleasure to see you again. I was at the farm with you for one of the ceremonies you had done, and it's called Earth Harmony Farms in Ipswich.
Well, they've changed it. It's not a farm anymore. They've changed it to a sanctuary, which has always been a sanctuary. But I believe it's New Harmony Sanctuary, but I have to double check. It's posted correctly on Facebook on that event page, because they changed the name of it.
Okay. I have been there for a few other events and it has been a while since I've been there, but I thought for sure it was Earth, but it could be New Harmony now, but I just remember it was Earth Harmony and just to help people find it. Gosh, there's so much. I am super excited that you're getting ready to do your walk again. It was a gift to be able to walk with you last year. So thank you for the work that you do. I have vague remembrances, so I'm very glad that Charlie has a picture of the grid that the two of you, that you had made. So that was really nice, because I had completely forgotten all about that grid until Charlie had mentioned it again. So that was really, and as you're explaining, I remembered that was the explanation that you had shared, how the vision of how it came to you and what it represented. And I felt it in a completely different spot this time in my body. So thank you for that. And gosh, my heart is really just very full at the moment. Yeah, I don't know, I just want to smile, and that's all I want to do. I don't really have anything else to say. So thank you very much. Love you all.
Love you too. Good to see you again.
And I can't seem to shut myself off now. I have trouble with technology. I'm still getting it. Need to be in relationship with this new way that energy moves, and I'm trying really hard to get into right relationship with this, the way the energy moves now, via the net and the web and everything else. So, all right,
I'm with you there, Kathleen, and I keep asking the water to help me learn how to be in relationship with the technology. Oh, Shalania, are you?
Yeah, I was just going to briefly say hello, and I work in Nisenan territory on the Kumsaya River, which is part of a larger watershed that goes out to San Francisco Bay Estuary, coming from Sacred Mount Shasta and from the Sierras. And it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be there. And I am grateful to see you.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, it is so lovely. And, I'm just loving this. And I wanted to ask you about, you just threw in there at the last moment, when you said you wanted to go deeper. And I don't know if you can answer this in the whatever time we have left. But, you were talking about the body, the heart and the spirit. And then you brought in consciousness. And I'm just wondering, how are you using consciousness? Because people toss that word around, and I just wonder, what you are meaning by consciousness.
Okay, so there's a consciousness of being awake. Do you know what day it is? That kind of consciousness. And there's the consciousness of being aware of that we are. That we're not alone here, and that the consciousness that we are connected to all things. That's the consciousness that I'm speaking of. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I sometimes forget to mention that. But until we awaken that consciousness of us, of the connection, of our connection to all things, especially to the water, we're going to continue to desecrate our water, and we continue to desecrate our land, because we have become too disconnected. And so this water wheel, medicine wheel, the way it has been explained to me through Dreamtime, is that until we awaken everyone to come back to that understanding that water is our source of life, that we cannot, we're going to continue to desecrate it. And so I pray every day for the ice in the hearts of men and women to melt, so that they can begin to hear with their hearts again. And so this tetrahedron, the crystals that we plant in this wheel are where the 9 points of that tetrahedron touch that, the outer circle, the heart circle, to awaken that consciousness again, that water is our source of life, not our resource. And so that's my understanding of what I've gotten through Dreamtime. And but I kind of wanted to object to that, that the heart body was larger. I really had a hard time with that. I had to really do some inner looking, you know, and to come to that knowing of that what was given was, you know, that I needed to stop trying to put my own interpretation on it and just just listen. So, but thank you for asking.
Carol, I'm so excited for what you've been sharing. I could just keep on, like Shanti said, I could just keep listening and going on, but I'm noticing the time that we're at an hour and a half, and so many of my perspectives have just been widened or expanded by what you said. You know, it talked about blessing the water within us and then it will radiate out. But now I have this image of peeing my water out and adding my blessings that way. And so many things I want to talk to you about. I learned the medicine water wheels from Marshall Golden Eagle, which are similar but a little different than yours. And so much more to share. And I hope that we have more connection in all of us in many ways. And if no one else has anything urgent to add, I would like to close by sharing a poem about what's called the alchemy of water. And then if there's a final little prayer you would like to offer to close us. So this poem I just recently found, it's by someone named W.L. Winter, who I don't know, but it's so beautiful about water. It's called The Alchemy of Water. To allow the waters in our body to receive these images and the vibration of these words. We walk immersed in an ocean of mist. If that mist would vanish, we would vanish. Our husks would crumble without shape to be scattered on dry winds. Fill your vessel with water, then plunge your hand into its mysteries. With it, our faces are formed. Our dreams wander paths of its currents. Where it touches earth, we gather, drawn to kneel and drink, so that we may know it and live. As the moon rolls, it follows, and we follow with it. We call it by name: grave of sailors, crown of mountains, mother of thunder, quencher of fire, and sister to the flame within, transparent yielding womb of all, source of all. In its breath, forged in the stars and cast out to form rain and bear fruit. Without it, even cactus wither. It sustains the scorpion and the king. A hawk beneath the cloud cries 5 times in tribute to its beauty. Trees thrust, spiraling into great heights by its power. Deep in the forest, it conspires with stone to make music. And wherever sounds that melody, life springs forth, and that life cannot be forbidden. So Grandmother Carol, would you just like to close us? Just a little brief prayer honoring.
I'm going to apologize because I live in an old house and the heat just came on. I tried to shut it off, but my pipes are clanging, so
It's okay. I'll just pretend it's a drums. We'll just pretend it's a drum.
Just kind of talk to us, I guess. And so in closing, I'd like to say that may we all love water as much as it loves us. May we be as generous as the water, for it gives and always gives and gives and gives support. It loves everything and everyone, even those that disrespect it. May we learn to be that generous. May we learn to become one with our other human family. the way the drops of water become one instantly. As we gather like drops, may we share all we have with each other and every other human being. As the human drops gather, may we learn to move and flow like one. Let the drops become a trickle. Let the drops become a stream. Let the stream become a river, a raging river, flowing down into an ocean of change. Water, we love you. Water, we thank you for teaching us how to be better human beings. Amen.
Thank you. May this new moon be the beginning of deeper commitment to caring for the waters of the earth.
Oh. Thank you for allowing me to come and share. Appreciate it.
It's a gift to us. It's a blessing. Thank you.
Yes.
So
thank
Maya,
you.
I'd like to just add just a little piece for the end of this. Okay.
Sure. Yes.
And yes, that was, we carry this evening into our dream time and into tomorrow. I want to just say for the people who might be watching this, and we invite people on here tonight. Tonight this will be posted, and obviously we've been enriched by this experience, and so to share that out. And so to those that might be watching this afterward, come connect with us at Loving Waters, www.lovingwaters.life. And now I can't remember who was saying it, but the full moon is in 2 weeks. And we do encourage and support you to do water blessings in your community. And for those that have been doing it alone, to at least invite one other person to explore it with you. And also that we're also connected to Good of the Whole. And May 1st, we're stepping into Love Lives Here, 40 days of reconnection. And we'll be speaking, the Loving Waters Council will be speaking about how we may participate with that. And we invite everyone to really participate in that reconnection that has been shared tonight through the water, So with that, I hand it back to you, Maya, to close this call. And thank you so much, Carol. It's been a joy. And of course, we're having you back. Part 2.
It's been a joy. Thank you.
Well, beautiful call. Now we're all going to scatter like drops of water, but may we come together more and more often and greater ways of communing with community. So for this, I'll say have a lovely time until the full moon, and share your ceremonies or blessings that you're doing on our website, and let us know where you're doing ceremonies so others can come join in. And I hold my water up. Say, I love you, water. I thank you, water. I respect you, water.